at it again, and you know the internal polls are getting really ugly when Kamala and Tim Walz actually start doing more interviews. Because for so long, for the longest time until now, they were playing the, oh, no, we're going to hide like Joe Biden did. We're gonna run with that strategy, and we're not gonna do any interviews. If we do an interview, it's gonna be a completely scripted interview, right? Where we're getting favorable questions. Matter of fact, we probably even know the questions ahead of time, so we already have a pre-scripted answer that we could just recite. Yeah. Well, she's starting to do more interviews, and so is Tim Walz. I'm gonna touch on both of those, the recent ones that they did. Because they were no better than the last. So it makes sense why they didn't want to do interviews to begin with, but because their internal polling, I'm assuming, is absolutely terrible, and they are realizing that this strategy ain't a winning strategy, now they're trying to do interviews. So let's dive into Kamala's most recent interview on the Call Her Daddy podcast, which is like from my understanding of it, it's like a sex podcast, which is wild. Yeah, how desperate do you have to be to go on that kind of podcast? As someone who wants to be a president, right? You're going on that type of podcast. But hey, here's one question that she was asked. Check it out.
I want to pose this question more to you and the Daddy Gang, but one of the biggest conversations in this year's election revolves around a woman's body.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
I want to take a moment, and can we try to think of any law that gives the government the power to make a decision?
I know what you're going to ask.
About a man's body. Let's
No.
Is there any law?
No.
Actually, that is categorically false. There is something in this country called the draft, might I remind you. If there is war and we need bodies, it's men that have to go and sacrifice their lives, right, for that cause. I thought it was my body, my choice. Okay, yeah, exactly. All that goes out the window, huh? Remember all of the doctors and nurses, during the height of COVID were fired when they didn't want to take the jab? I thought it was my body, my choice, though. That was their own body and their choice not to inject anything into their body. Didn't care about that then, did you? And it's funny because they were calling these folks, heroes for being on the front lines during a pandemic, like the most important people, right? But then they fired them. Interesting. She was also asked this question, of course, about abortion. Yeah, it's got to come up, of course, because they're desperate. That's going to be a repeating theme for the next 4 weeks till election. Really, it's less than 4 weeks, a little bit less than 4 weeks, but check it out.
Not happening, and it's a lie. It's a bold-faced lie. Can you imagine? He's suggesting that women in their 9th month of pregnancy are electing to have an abortion. Are you kidding? That is so outrageously inaccurate, and it's so insulting to suggest that would be happening and that women would be doing that.
Oh, it's so insulting. Man, stop it with the nonsense. You don't actually care about that. You just care about trying to win. But this young lady decided to do a little bit of investigating because Kamala has repeated this statement before. And hold on, let me cue this thing up. Kamala has repeated this statement before, and this young lady took the opportunity to call a place, and this is how it went. Aborting a child at 9 months.
The Care Clinic in Bethesda, Maryland.
Thank you for calling Care. How can I help you?
I am looking to have an abortion.
How far along are you?
I'm 34 right now. I am in a pretty desperate situation. My boyfriend is kind of out of the picture now, so I don't really have any support.
An abortion at any stage is actually much safer than delivering a term pregnancy. It's a 4 to 5 day procedure. We do some basic lab work on you and start to dilate your cervix. After that, we do what we call the fetal injection. A needle is inserted through the abdomen and into the fetal heart where lidocaine is injected, and that will completely numb the fetus so there's no pain. And then after that, we inject a medication called digoxin and another medication called KCL into the fetal heart, which will slow and then stop the fetal heartbeat. And then on that 4th day, depending on how your cervix has dilated, we'll break your water, and then we'll give you a medication called misoprostol. Misoprostol will sort of induce contraction and increase the dilation of your cervix. You're going to have contractions and cramping, and then we'll assist you in sort of pushing in the induction and then remove all of the products of conception. You're definitely going to feel discomfort and cramping and a lot of pressure, but we do give you fentanyl and Versed during the procedure. We specialize in later trimester care. Our doctor is very well versed in what he's doing, and he's very good.
So I'm not like a rare situation. Y'all help women this late in pregnancy all the time?
All the time.
Now, technically, that wasn't 9 months. That was 8. Okay. But you heard the question that she asked at the end. I'm not an
month of pregnancy.
Hold on. Sorry. She said, basically, I'm not an anomaly. You guys do this all the time. And her answer was, yes, all the time. Yeah. Which, that was horrific what I heard her describe. How they go about it. Like, whew. Goodness gracious. Yeah, 8 months. Not I can't talk today. And that's not an anomaly either. They do it all the time, according to that healthcare physician. Yeah. So, lie detector determined that Kamala lied once again. Okay. Now let's move on to old Timmy Tim. Yeah, Timmy Tim. Because he did an interview as well, and he went on to Fox News, of all places. Yeah, they threw him to the wolves. They said, hey, you messed up in the debate. You made us look even worse than we already were looking. So take your behind out there and do this interview on Fox. We got to get you out there. Go. And this is how it went.
Listen, before we go, because I wish that we had a full hour, I want to give you a chance, because you called yourself a knucklehead this week, to talk about some of your misstatements. Yes. You've modified your story or explained that you misspoke about things involving your military rank, about carrying a weapon in war, your 1995 DUI arrest, using IVF to have your beautiful children, Gus and Hope, being in Hong Kong and China in the summer of 1989 during the Tiananmen events. A lot of people would say they couldn't get away with saying, I'm just too passionate, my grammar's not right, I'm a knucklehead. What do you say to the American people who think, I don't know that I can trust this guy with all those modifications to be the potential commander-in-chief of this country?
Yeah, well, I think they heard me. They heard me the other night speaking passionately about gun violence and misspeaking. And I got to be honest with you, Shannon, I don't think people care whether I used IUI or IVF when we talk about this. What they understand is Donald Trump would resist those things. Look, I speak passionately. I had an entire career, decades before I was in public office. They know, and I'm very proud of my 24 years in service and my record. I have never disparaged someone else in this, but I know that's not what Donald Trump does. They disparage everyone. The personal attacks. I will own up when I misspeak. I will own up when I make a mistake. Let's be very clear. On that debate stage the other night, I asked one very simple question, and Senator Vance would not acknowledge that Donald Trump lost the 2020 election. I think they're probably far more concerned with that than my wife and I used IUI to have our child, and that Donald Trump would restrict that. So I think folks know who I am. My constituents here in Minnesota have elected me 8 times. They know where I'm at, and I'm proud to be on the ticket, and we'll deliver just like we have here in Minnesota.
Right. And if we're going to deal in truth, both the president, the former president, and his nominee have said that they are very supportive of IVF.
Yeah, he actually got fact-checked for once, you know, because that's the recurring theme with these Democrats. They go on these platforms where nobody actually corrects their lies, but not on Fox, not at all.
I want to clarify what the law is there in Minnesota. Abortion Finder, a website that helps women find access, says abortion is legal throughout pregnancy in Minnesota. There is no ban or limit on abortion in Minnesota based on how far along in a pregnancy you are. You signed the bill that makes it legal through all 9 months. Is that a position you think Democrats should advocate for nationally?
Look, the vice president and I have been clear. The restoration of Roe versus Wade is what we're asking for.
But that
this is
law
a
goes
woman's
far
right
beyond Roe v. Wade.
to make her own choice. The law is very clear. It does not change that. That was been debunked on every occasion.
But
wait,
look, let's agree. What you signed is there's not a single limit through 9 months of pregnancy. Roe had a trimester framework that did have limits through the pregnancy. The Minnesota law does not have that.
This puts the decision with the woman and her healthcare providers. The situation we have is when you don't have the ability of healthcare providers to provide that, that's where you end up with a situation like Amanda Zaworski in Texas, where they are afraid to do what's necessary. This doesn't change anything. It puts the decision back on to the woman, to the physicians, and we know that this is simply something to be brought up to be very clear. Donald Trump's asking for a nationwide abortion ban.
Wait, he has
and again,
said that
we don't see this as a winning
repeatedly
campaign.
that he will not sign a national abortion ban. Are you calling that just, it's a flat out lie?
Yes, of course. And Senator Vance has in the past said so too. Now look, they may see this as an election issue. We see it as a right of women to make their own bodily decisions. And that's what the states like my state have the ability to put that in. States like Georgia force women to cross the border, and then we have a death of Amber Thurman. So let's be very clear. Trying to cut hairs on an issue on this is not where the American public's at. They want the restoration of Roe versus Wade. Vice President Harris said she would sign it. That's what we'll do when we're elected.
But to be clear, the Minnesota law is far beyond Roe v. Wade. And about the Amber Thurman case in Georgia, her family has, and it's tragic, she is a young mother who left behind a young son. But what her family has said is it was a complication from an abortion pill that she received, and she didn't get proper care when she went to a Georgia hospital, which had multiple opportunities to intervene there. Her own attorney, the family's attorney, says it wasn't the Georgia law, it was the hospitals. What he claims is malpractice, not treating her when she clearly showed up in distress and still had the byproducts of her pregnancy because of that rare complication from the abortion pill. So just to be clear on the Georgia law and how her family and her attorney sees it. I want to
fact checked again. Oh man, I love it. I love it. I love it. But I also want to go back to this interview that Kamala did, and I want to show you guys the comment section. Y'all know how I always go to the comments, baby. I always go to the comments. Yeah, it's pretty bad. It's pretty bad. Okay, so this is the Call Her Daddy podcast. Almost 1 million subscribers, so a fairly big channel. All right, not a small fry. Okay. It has 126,000 views in 16 hours, so fairly popular. 5K likes. All right. Yeah, I did that. Let's read the comments. How long before these comments get disabled? Laughing emoji. I grew up in a middle-class family, you know, the whole Kamala line, right? Men are legally obligated to sign up for the draft. Yes, our bodies are controlled by the government. Yeah, that's facts. Call her a liar and card. Pathetic. Our VP won't visit Helene Aftermath, but she'll spend all afternoon on a BJ podcast. No, and we're not doomed. I don't agree with that last part. We gonna make sure that she doesn't take office. Okay, let's keep scrolling. If you want an abortion, pay for it yourself. Tax dollars should not pay for it, period. Why is she not helping people that are affected by the hurricane? Not one good comment. This is nuts. Doesn't she have more important matters? Hurricane Helene. LOL. What happened to the 40-minute interview? Y'all ain't like the amount of thumbs downs. That's a great point. Because this interview, this clip is barely it's not even 8 minutes. I'm sure this interview was a lot longer than this. So they took down, allegedly, a longer video clip. Wait, where'd that comment go? Here we go. So they took down the full video. 40-minute interview, bro. And he was like, too many dislikes. Oh my goodness. All these content creators will allow her to say or do anything. Cancel these folks' talk shows. Oh, her whole outfit is more than the victims of the Hurricane Helene get. She just goes in circles. Yeah, I mean, this comment section is just going after it. Look, guys, I grew up in a middle-class neighborhood. Please stop the girl boss era. It costs us a lot of money in life in Afghanistan and North Carolina. Let's keep scrolling. Let's find a random one. Wild. Oh, yeah, I'm not about to read that. Call Her Daddy podcast is going to go downhill fast after this. Okay, let's. Kamala Ding. Whoa. I'm about to read that one. I just lost 33 IQ points watching this. I mean, look, guys. I mean, I could just scroll. Look, I will never support your podcast after this, girl. Bye. Okay, let's stop at another random one. Stop here. It's all about the abortion ban with women. America is a third world country, but hey, you can abort babies. One more. All right, stop. You can't handle the truth. Watch Louder with Crowder. See you get fact checked to no end with all your lies. Pathetic. This is Hall of Fame history. Huh? Man, would y'all consider this one a good comment? It's like the first good comment that I've seen. I don't know, because that could go both ways. Like history as in like a bad way. LMAO, 100K views in 14 hours or more dislikes than likes. You're getting some pretty bad press right now, but any press is good press, I guess. Yeah. So I just had to show y'all that because that was one of the things I always tell you guys. I always go to the comment sections, whether that's on Instagram, X, or YouTube, right? I go to the comment section. Whenever I see anything big politically that has happened, I go to the comment section and, hey, it's been gold. The last few times that I've done it, right? You guys know, like I just literally scrolled and just stopped randomly on comments, like the entire comment section minus, if I had to guess, probably 98% of those comments were negative. 98. That is terrible. That is terrible. But that's the reason why she's trying to do these off random interviews, right? I don't necessarily have anything against Call Her Daddy podcast, right? They have their own podcast, whatever. I don't agree with what they talk about, whatever. You know, I can't be mad at it, right? Do your thing. But like, it's just random to like, for someone who wants to be the sitting president to like go on a podcast that's about the topics that they talk about on that podcast. You know, like this is just weird. But it also shows the desperation. You know, they're desperate. They know they're losing. They're behind heavily, which is also a reason why, you know, I think some of the stuff is happening that we see happening with the hurricane situation. And I've talked about that in another video. So definitely check out the other video from today. Okay. But anyway, y'all let me know your thoughts, your opinions. Stay safe out there. Peace and love. I'm out.